Students, counselors, families, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever it is in the world you are joining us. Thank you so much for joining StriveScan and Cachet's virtual college exploration program. A few housekeeping items before today's session. First and foremost, you're encouraged to ask questions throughout the session via the Q&A button that you see on your screen. When you submit a question, it gets sent to all of our panelists, and they'll work to answer them during the session and at the conclusion of the session. They may not get to every question, so they'll be able to follow with you afterward. This is just a 45-minute presentation, but we do encourage you to submit your questions through this session via the Q&A button. As a reminder, your camera and your microphone are turned off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. So if you do have questions, make sure to type them in through that Q&A. This is one of 50 panel presentations and individual information sessions that are run with the STEM focus through Thursday evening. We encourage you to check out the rest of the schedule at strivescan.com/virtual/STEM, the same place you went to register for this session today. When you signed up for today's session, you received a barcode. You do not need that barcode for this event. And I am recording this session and all of the sessions, and the recordings will be made available at strivescan.com/virtual/STEM. That exact same place you went to register for today's program. We'll have a copy of all the recordings, all the information sessions, and all the panels. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to the panelists from WPI.
Great. Okay, thank you. I am going to pull up my screen. My name is Kate Bello. I'm one of the counselors in the admission office, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm saying tonight because where I am, we're almost there. I'm going to skip this slide since I know Zach did a little housekeeping. But again, I'm Kate Bello. I'm one of the counselors in the admission office at WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Thank you so much for joining us today for this information session. If I were in person, one of the first things I would say, and Lana knows this, is that my favorite part of this presentation is that I don't go it alone. I co-present with a current student, someone who's living the WPI experience, and she's going to help me tonight to tell you a little bit more about our school and our campus community. So Lana, would you mind taking a moment just to introduce yourself?
Yeah, no problem at all. So hi everybody, as Kate has stated, my name is Lana. I'm a current student at WPI. I'll be graduating in the year 2022, so I'm coming up in my junior year. I study biomedical engineering with a concentration in biomaterials, and when I'm not working with admissions, you can probably find me singing or acting with different music and theater groups on our campus.
Great, thank you, Lana. So again, we're going to take some time today to just give you a general overview of WPI. We want to spend some time talking with you in three areas. The first is the academics at WPI. How do we roll that out? What is it like? And that's really centers around the WPI plan. It's really how we roll out academics to our students on campus. And that again is why it's so great to have Lana's experience as a current student. We want to talk to you about campus resources, student life, what it's like to be part of the campus community at WPI. And then we will spend some time going through the admission process, how that works, as well as financial aid. And as Zach mentioned, we are going to spend as much time as we can towards the end in taking your questions and answering questions that you might have. Okay, so let's get started. Why WPI? There's definitely several takeaways that we want you to have as you're learning more about our institution, about our community, and there's really three things here on this slide. The first is that we are a STEM-focused university where the humanities matter. So what does that mean at WPI? Really what it means is our students come to campus, they're passionate about many different aspects within STEM, but they also enjoy the humanities as well. And so while we are a STEM-focused institution, our students will still be able to explore all of their passions within the humanities. In fact, it's our largest department on campus, and Lana will talk a little bit more about the humanities at WPI a little bit later in this presentation. The second piece is we are a research university with a project-based curriculum. So if you're someone who loves to roll up your sleeves, you love to collaborate, you love project work, we might be a really nice fit for you. And also, if you're someone who's really excited about the opportunity to get involved in research during your college time, you'd be able to do that at WPI, both through our project-based curriculum, but also through some different opportunities that would be available to you through faculty that we have on campus and other resources that we have. The third point that we want to make is that we have a very flexible curriculum. It's really important to us at WPI that students are able to make the most of their time on campus. So really this concept of more in 4. What does that mean? Well, it means that you might want to have a co-op experience or internship experiences during your time on campus. You might want to take graduate courses in your senior year. You might want to complete your bachelor's and your master's in 4 years or 5 years. There's a lot of flexibility with our curriculum, and we want to help you make the most of your time on campus. So to talk a little bit more about that, I'm going to the next slide where we're just going to give you a general overview of our programs. We are a STEM school, so in terms of major, at least one major, you're going to find that students at WPI are going to focus on something within science, technology, engineering, and math. But I will tell you that you don't have to know exactly what you want to do before you arrive on campus. We're going to give you some flexibility to change your mind along the way. And as you can see by this slide, about 20% of our students will come in undecided. We will ask you to choose a major midway through your first year, but that's really so that we can match you up with a faculty advisor in your area of interest. And when you apply to WPI, you're just applying to WPI. You're not applying to the College of Engineering or the College of Arts and Sciences. So we're not making admission decisions specifically based on what you think you might want to major in. We have and Lana will talk about this more. We have faculty on our campus who, in addition to teaching our students in the classroom, they meet with our students all the time. They advise our students. It's a very collaborative campus community, and you'll see our student to faculty ratio is 13:1. All of our classes are taught by faculty. So if a teaching assistant is going to come into play in a particular classroom, it's really to help with a breakout session, but you can expect that at WPI, all new material will be taught by faculty. I've talked a little bit about sort of our hands-on curriculum. We have state-of-the-art labs and facilities. We have the Foisey Innovation Studio, which is home to a lot of opportunity for our students to do project work on their own. We have almost a dozen 3D printers. There's a lot of space, maker space, where our students can go and either work on a project with a team on campus or go and work on their own. And again, we have a very flexible curriculum. So it's really possible for students to pick up a double major along the way if that's something that they want to do. If you want to get very ambitious, maybe you've brought some credit with you and you have advanced standing, you'd be able to possibly do your BS and your MS in 4 years, or maybe stay on for that 5th year and get your master's. So again, a lot of flexibility there. Now what I'm going to do is pass things over to Lana, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the WPI plan. And I'll just back up and say, I'm going to go back to this slide actually real quick if I can. So you'll see there that our freshman to sophomore retention rate is 95%. And that's really tracking students who finish up their first year on campus and stay on for that 2nd year. And we're really proud of that statistic at WPI. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is the WPI plan, the fact that it is so flexible, that our students get to start taking classes in areas of interest to them as early as their first year. And so with that, I'm going to pass things over to Lana, and she's going to take over and talk a little bit more in depth about the WPI plan.
All right, so thank you for that introduction, Kate. As she mentioned, I will be sort of reviewing what the WPI plan is with you guys in these next few slides. It essentially came about 50 years ago when we sort of had our faculty and professors sit down and go, okay, well, if we're teaching the next generation of problem solvers and engineers and scientists, then we should really think about a cutting edge approach to educating them. And so these next 4 sort of steps are what we came up with.
See if I can get this. Sorry about that.
No.
For some reason, my slides don't seem to want to advance all of a sudden. There we go.
Just
sorry about that.
Webinar thing.
Yeah, we're learning.
Oh yeah, always learning. So to start out, I want to talk about our really unique academic calendar. I'm sure if you guys have sort of attended any other sessions or looking into other universities, you'll notice most of them probably run on a traditional 2-semester system. Here at WPI, we've opted to actually split that in half. So we have 4 7-week quarters. During these quarters, you'll be taking 3 classes as your standard course load. And these are unabridged courses. So it's a full semester's worth of information in half the time. Sounds kind of scary. It's really not. Essentially, our classes will just meet more frequently, practically once a day for all 3 of those courses. They might be labs, they might be lectures, or even those conference sort of breakout sessions that Kate has mentioned that are led by generally a teaching assistant or a peer learning assistant. As for how this all sort of shakes out calendar-wise, we start out in late August and stay through mid-October for our first term, which is very creatively named A term. You'll have about a whole week off before you come back for your B term, which is late October through mid-December. You'll then have about a whole month of winter break before C term starts up in mid-January, which then ends in early March. About another week off for spring break before you sort of end things off with D term, which lasts mid-March through early May. Couple things I want to point out here. Number one, all of our breaks at WPI are true breaks. Because our classes only ever run during that quarter, you don't have to worry about finishing up your exam during break or preparing for the next class by sort of studying and hitting the ground running there. You get to go home, watch Netflix, or sleep and eat a whole bunch of food, whatever tickles your fancy. We also have an extremely long summer. When we let out at the end of my freshman year, we actually ended at the end of April, so not even early May, which was pretty exciting. So it means we have a very long summer, and there's a couple ways students will take advantage of that. I'd say number one is our optional E-term, which runs June through July. It's a great chance for students to sort of get a leg up on their courses, pursue that more and sort of get a leg up when it comes to their courses for pursuing a BS, MS in those 4 or 5 years, or just experimenting with something entirely out of their major if they so choose. But I'd say that the most common opportunity that students will take advantage of is pursuing work opportunities. So internships and co-ops. Internships can be completed no problem, totally fine during our summers. Co-ops, it's a great chance to sort of start them and then finish them up at the start of the oncoming year. It's all up to the student's preference. As for what that non-punitive grading policy box down in the lower left-hand corner means, these are the 4 grades you can receive as your overall course grade at WPI. So there's the A, the B, the C, or the NR, and that is short for no record. I'll come back to what no record really means in just a second, but I want to point out we don't offer pluses or minuses as our overall course grades here at WPI. This helps encourage a more collaborative environment for our students. We're not trying to outcompete one another to sort of sit on top of the curve to get an A+ versus just an A. We're all always sort of looking to help out one another to make sure we're all succeeding. As for what no record means, if you're scoring below a C in a class, you're probably not retaining the information in a way that's going to benefit you in the long run. We don't want to punish you for that because we understand that sometimes things happen or maybe a course wasn't what you expected it to be. So instead of receiving a D or an F, you'll just essentially have no record of this course ever being taken. So it's not going to appear on your transcript and it's not going to bog down your GPA. It's like you've never taken it. It's just a nice safety net we have in place for our students. That being said, on average, most of our students will actually never have to utilize this option. So that finally brings me into our flexible curriculum on the slide. Kate sort of alluded a little bit to the amount of flexibility we have as students here, and I think that that's really amazing that we have this opportunity. If you guys want to look up our WPI undergraduate tracking sheets, you'll probably notice a couple different things. So number one, if you're taking 3 classes a term for 4 years, that means you're probably going to be taking 48 classes. If you look at those tracking sheets, generally there's only 45 slots listed. So what happened to those extra 3? Well, number one, if you're taking an NR, it helps ensure that you won't fall behind in your education. And number 2, it gives students just more sort of playing room with electives or taking upper level courses, just exploring any other interests they might develop during their time here. We also don't have pre-prescribed schedules for our students. We just have sort of degree requirements. So if you compared my schedule to another biomedical engineering majors on campus, chances are there's little to no overlap, as we just are told to take a certain amount of maths, a certain amount of sciences, but what we choose as an individual is totally up to us. So for example, I took organic chemistry rather than just our general chemistry sequence because I felt that'd benefit me more in the long run. Also, we don't have prerequisites here at WPI. We only have what are called recommended backgrounds. So for example, if you're taking Calculus 4, your first term here on campus, you should probably have an understanding of calculuses 1 through 3, but we can't actually force you to take those. If you feel comfortable enough with that material and that you're well equipped enough to go and enter Calc 4 right away, you are more than welcome to do so. Additionally, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about transfer credits. We do offer course equivalencies here at WPI for a 4 or 5 on the AP exam or a 6 or 7 on the International Baccalaureate. So that'll also all carry over and help knock some requirements out of your actual undergraduate tracking sheet. Next slide, please.
I think there's something sensitive with the mute button. Let's see if we can get it to go. I don't know why
No
this is
worries.
not advancing. There we go.
Perfect. So this brings me to my most favorite section of the actual WPI plan, and that is our project-based curriculum. If you're to track down just about any old WPI student, we'd all probably love to ramble about our projects. So of the 4 on the slide, only one of them is actually optional, so I'll start by discussing that one first, and that is our Great Problems Seminar. This is a class exclusive to our first-year students, so it's a really great chance for them to sort of get their feet wet, figure out what a college level project is like, how to work in a group, and how to write reports and sort of research papers. So they'll approach a sort of broad topic such as heal the world and then zero in on a more individualized sort of focus. So a great example of this is I had a group of friends in Heal the World who actually looked at sub-Saharan African plants to then derive a hand sanitizer from them to then be used in local communities. That's obviously extremely helpful because it's utilizing nearby resources, and it also helps sort of encourage sustainability. Next, I want to discuss our humanities and arts. You guys already heard Kate mention we are a STEM-focused institution, but we do have a passion for the arts in addition to all of that. So the way that we sort of help keep our students well-rounded is we actually require that you take 6 classes in the humanities throughout your time here. The humanities is actually our largest department on campus, so there's a great variety of what you can do. You'll take 3 in what's called your depth, 2 in a breadth, and then a final capstone project. So a great example, I'll just talk about myself, I guess. I had a music depth and then an English breadth, and then my final project was I worked with a music professor on campus to actually arrange a song to then be heard rehearsed live by one of our orchestral groups on campus, which was really special for me. Students also have the ability to actually study foreign language for all of their courses, and then they can even go abroad and do a study abroad project on that actual foreign language. I'll be talking a little bit later about our study abroad opportunities just a little more in depth in just a second. But first I want to discuss our IQP, which is our junior year project. This is a chance for our students to work in interdisciplinary teams. So I might be working with a data scientist and a robotics engineer and maybe a psych major on my IQP. This is a chance for us to approach social science issues and focus in on actual communities that have issues that they'd like to see resolved. So I had a friend who went to Reykjavik, Iceland, and during his time there, he worked on improving the routing systems for one of the buses in the area, and they also helped revamp the user interface of the app for that actual company. If you don't want to go abroad, no worries, you're more than welcome to stay on campus. I had a friend who worked with several local area high schools to actually create more hands-on physics labs to be implemented on a daily basis. She test ran these actual labs in what's called our studio physics section here on campus, and then she took the feedback from those classes, revamped those projects once more before actually giving them a sort of nice presentation to these actual high schools to be implemented. And then finally, my favorite project is the MQP. This is our senior year capstone research project, so you will be working on something that's major specific. I always say it's a nice way to sort of wrap up your time here at WPI with a pretty little bow, present it to the world and say, this is something I'm interested in and have a passion in. And this is something I've already done just within my time as a college student. So a couple examples, I had a friend who was a biology and biotechnology major, and this past year she spent a lot of time working on cancer research with UMass Memorial Hospital in the area. I also had friends who were robotics engineers, and they were actually able to create a robotic tongue to help people eat if they had lost their tongues to cancer. So there's a whole lot of options as to what you can do. Next slide, please. No worries.
I don't know why this is not working today. I apologize, everybody. It just does not want to move. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, so this is my chance to actually explain that study abroad sort of opportunity that we offer to our students here. I'm sure a lot of you are considering or thinking of engineering majors. As you go and look at other institutions, you'll probably realize it's very difficult to study abroad and still graduate on time. Here at WPI, we've actually built these experiences into our programs, so you don't have to worry about staying an extra term or maybe a semester to finish up your degree. The reason being is that our IQP and the MQP, so that junior year and senior year project, they actually have a 3-course equivalence, which is the same amount of classes that's a standard course load per term. So you can take a whole term and focus in on that project and not fall behind in classes. Overall, we have 50 plus project centers around the world on 6 of the 7 continents. Obviously, Antarctica is not one of them, as it's not currently pictured here. But all of these little red dots are places you can actually go and make a real difference. Our study abroad's focused on working with communities and real people on problems that are affecting them, and not just you going to an institution in the area to take classes that you could take just fine here at WPI. Obviously, we understand that studying abroad isn't necessarily the most financially accessible things to a lot of families. So a really great initiative that our president, Dr. Lori Leshin, has created is the Global Scholarship Program. This guarantees students up to $5,000 to help alleviate the costs associated with studying abroad. So food, flight, really anything you can really imagine that you might be needing during those 7 weeks. So with that, I've been rambling at you guys for a little while, so Kate and I are going to show you guys just a little video about the WPI experience.
What I found different from my high school was that at WPI, everyone is there because they love to learn.
Project opportunities are built into all 4 years of the WPI curriculum.
My name is Marco Villar. I'm from San Diego, California, and I innovate building materials. What I would like to go into is finding alternative methods that make a building less harmful to the environment. I knew that with WPI's project-based curriculum, I'd be able to get that hands-on experience. You get the chance to apply what you learned in a classroom out onto the field.
I'm Bree, and I innovate infant respiratory rate monitors. For biomedical engineering design class, you're presented with a problem. So ours was to create a device that will help prevent sudden infant death syndrome. It's so incredible to have something that I can look at and say, I did that. I created this in 7 weeks.
My name is Chelsea Ross Miller. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I innovate regenerative medicine. I've wanted to be a doctor since I was 13. It's one of those few things in my life that hasn't changed. So I didn't want to go to college where it was going to be back to Scantron tests. I wanted to go to a place where I could actually do something with what I was learning. You really have that opportunity all the time to be innovative and to apply your knowledge. And so that's important to me, even getting my biology degree, to be working towards something that's going to be benefiting healthcare in the long run.
My name is John. I'm from New Jersey, and I innovate robotics. Frankly, the whole robotics program itself is innovative. We think of robotics like a 3-legged stool. There's one leg that's the mechanical engineering side, one leg that's the electrical and computer engineering side, and then one leg that's the computer science side. You become really well-rounded, and that's what companies love. I never really thought that I was going to be building robots from day one in my robotics class, but I was.
In their junior year, students embark on the interactive project, what we call the IQP. About 90% of our students do their IQP off campus at locations all around the globe.
I have been working in a community called Machiniwa. We are located in Cape Town, South Africa. Right now, I am standing in one of the community members' shacks. These shacks are amazing, but there's no light. They're all metal, so how is any light gonna get in, ever? We started sketching out some ideas, and I'm still blown away by the fact that a bottle of water, bleach, and just put it in a hole in your roof can allow so much light into a shack that you would be able to replace a 50-watt light bulb with this bottle of water. It's incredible. It's what the community really wanted, and it's a new and innovative way to do it.
Welcome to Venice!
This is the measuring stick that's used to measure the water level. These are actually devices that we made ourselves.
The work here was really giving Venice a way to monitor their canals, and Venice's canals are like their roads. It's how they get around, it's how they transport things. IQPs will do that. They give these cities and these countries ways to improve how they're doing things.
The best thing about being a WPI student is that you're finally with a community of people that have the same passion and values that you do.
They may not realize it, but they're changing the world as their college students. They don't have to wait until they're out of college to change the world.
You honestly have the chance to make the change that you want to make.
We're going to try to improve my community, and then eventually, who knows, I will change the world.
We're no longer students, we're thinkers, we're researchers, and we're innovators pushing the world to become something different and something better.
We innovate everything.
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 Okay, so I always say that I like showing this video because it's important hearing it from students who have already completed these experiences. It's one thing hearing from me, someone who's coming up on these opportunities. I still haven't started junior year, and I definitely have not reached my senior year yet. So I can't really tell you about my own experience with IQP or MQP because I don't have that yet. So just to summarize what these fantastic people have all mentioned, gives you a chance to take what you've learned in class and apply it to a real world problem, which is one of the major reasons as to why we enjoy having our project experiences. It also gives you the opportunity to build quite a few different soft skills that are extremely important, such as confidence, teamwork, presentation skills. I always mention that since you are working in groups, you do pick up conflict resolution very quickly, as that's just the name of the game. But the most special thing about all of this is that more often than not, these projects are actually sponsored by real companies, nonprofits, or even government agencies. So you can already start to figure out what the workforce is expecting as sort of an end result, just as a student. So with that, I'm going to actually pass it back over to Kate to talk about our fantastic career and development services that we have here on campus.
Great, thank you, Lana. I hope that you were able to get a sense of the project-based curriculum by watching the video, but I definitely encourage you to go onto our website. There's lots of great examples of different project work that our students are doing. But as Lana said, when our students take that project work that they experience, I'm so sorry, I want to apologize in advance. For some reason, my keyboard is just not working or cooperating tonight, but our students end up getting so much experience both in and out of the classroom through the project work that they do, that they really are able to translate that into some really wonderful career opportunities when they leave WPI. So I did want to talk a little bit about that. We have a lot of support in place for our students, and our students can go to our Office of Career Development as early as their first year to identify internship opportunities that might be of interest to them. If you think back to the way the academic calendar works at WPI with the term system, I think Lana alluded to this, our students finish up in late April, early May, and so it gives them a big chunk of time, May, June, July, and most of August for internship opportunities. So those tend to be very popular for our students during the summer months. But co-op is also something that's available at WPI. It's not built into the curriculum the way you might find co-op at other schools, but it's absolutely something that our students can take advantage of. And again, going back to something that Lana already mentioned, a lot of our students are going to come into WPI with advanced standing. So that means maybe they brought that AP credit with them. Maybe they have some international baccalaureate credit they're bringing with them, or maybe they took some classes via dual enrollment at a local college and they're bringing that with them. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in your schedule to take a term or two off, complete a co-op, and still graduate in that 4-year window. And one thing I definitely would want to clarify with the co-op, it's almost like an extended internship. So it's a time where you're not taking WPI classes, you're not paying WPI tuition, you're actually working in a co-op environment and you're getting paid for that experience. So again, a lot of examples For co-op internship opportunities, career paths that our students are taking can be found on our website. Our career development office will publish data every year. So if you're curious to know biomedical engineering majors, what types of jobs are they getting when they graduate? What's a physics major getting in terms of career opportunities when they graduate? You can definitely find that information. But I do also want to point out that we have employers who are coming on campus all the time. We have counselors in the career development office that will work with you to put together your resume. They'll help you identify different companies that are hiring. They'll help you with mock interviews. But then they also host a couple very large-scale career fairs every year, one in the fall, one in the spring, where recruiters will come to campus and individually meet with WPI students in a career fair type setting. And I know that there are some virtual opportunities that are available for students now, given the situation in terms of not being able to hold large-scale events. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about campus life, what it means to be part of the WPI community. We are a residential campus, and so we do guarantee housing in the first year for first-year students. After that, about 62% of our students are going to choose to live on campus. We have a variety of different types of residence halls that students can choose to live in. And if you're curious to take a look at what those opportunities might look like for you, I definitely encourage you to go to our website where you can actually take a virtual tour of the different residence halls that we have. But we're very much a vibrant campus community. I think Lana is like many students who are able to balance the academic work that they're doing along with being involved in a lot of different clubs and organizations. We have over 250 that students can choose from. There's a lot of variety. We are NCAA Division III, so we have 10 men's and 10 women's varsity sports, but we also have a very active intramural and club sport program. Lana, would you like to take a moment just to talk a little bit about clubs and organizations?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So I always say that because your workday lasts between 4 to 7 hours, because depending on how fast you can get through homework, that there's a whole lot of time for you to join different clubs and organizations. We obviously have the more traditional things such as Greek life, honor societies, ranging to even more niche sort of interests such as the lockpicking club or the Society of Magicians. We have 2 different cheese clubs, one for making and sort of entrepreneurship opportunities to one for tasting. So there's really a whole lot that students are free to be able to do and join. For example, I'm in like 4 clubs and I still am able to focus perfectly fine on my studies. And that's definitely the case for most, if not all of our students.
Great, thank you for mentioning that. And then I do want to talk a little bit about Worcester. What is the city of Worcester like? What's it like to be a college student in our community? And one thing that I always like to point out to students, you might be joining us from very far away. You might be joining us today from 20 miles away. Worcester is the 2nd largest city in New England, and it's home to over 38,000 college students. So as you're going through your college search and you're thinking about the community that you want to go to school in, if you're looking for a college town, Worcester might be a really nice fit for you. There's 12 different colleges in the greater Worcester area. We do have a consortium, so it is possible to take a class at another institution. We share social calendars. The city itself really caters to the student population. There are so many different types of restaurants that our students are constantly trying and coming back to the admissions office and telling us about. There's musical events, live sporting events. There's a little something for everyone in the city of Worcester. And then we're pretty conveniently located. We're about an hour from Boston and we're about 3 hours from New York City. So our students really find they're able to enjoy all that Worcester has to offer in terms of a college town, but also take advantage of being in the Northeast. Lana, what's your favorite thing to do in Worcester?
Ooh, hands down, eating at different restaurants because there's a whole bunch of small sort of local shops around.
Yeah, there's definitely lots for students to choose from in terms of activities. We're not a suitcase school. Our students stay on campus. They like to take part in all the events that are happening on campus, but also all the events that are happening in Worcester on the weekends. All right, so with that, we're gonna keep moving forward with this presentation and talk a little bit about the admission process and how that works at WPI. I just wanna state, I know Zach mentioned that this presentation is being recorded, so you'll have access to it, but all of these deadlines are also on our website. And as we walk through this information tonight, I hope you know that you can reach out and ask questions at any time. At WPI, we're part of the Common Application, so you may have even taken a look at that. I know that has gone live for us, so students can now submit their application if they choose to. But with the Common Application, we're going to ask you to send us the essay that is part of the Common Application, where you get the prompts that you can choose. And then we do have a supplemental essay. It's a short essay, which is asking you to tell us a little bit about why WPI, why you're interested in our institution. Those two things are required along with the high school transcript. And we want to see at least 2 letters of recommendation. So we're going to ask you to send us, your guidance counselor will send a recommendation, and then we'll ask you to choose at least 1 teacher. We do have a preference for math or science, and I know that sometimes it can be hard to choose just 1 teacher, so you can certainly feel free to submit more than 1, but we don't need you to submit 5 or 6 teacher recommendations. That's just not necessary. We do have a couple things that are optional at WPI. I would like to point out that we are test optional. I know that has definitely been a challenge this year for students that are seniors now, rising seniors and seniors. And I want you to know that at WPI, we've been test optional for over a decade now. So this is something that we really feel it's up to the student. And so if you want to submit your test scores, you may do that, and we will review them with your application. But if you do, you are absolutely more than able to just choose to submit other aspects of the application without the test scores. So definitely wanted to point that out, especially knowing that this has been a little bit more of a challenge this year. And then last but not least, in terms of the application, we do offer interviews, but they're not required. Unfortunately, our campus is closed right now for interviews on campus, but we are offering virtual interviews via the platform Zoom, and you can go to our website and take a look at that schedule. And that's something that students who are seniors will be able to schedule between now and the end of October. But in terms of application deadlines, you can see here on this slide that we have several different ways that you can apply, and we have multiple deadlines. And it certainly is important to us this year that our students have a lot of flexibility in terms of how they apply and when they choose to apply. So I'm not going to go through every deadline, but I'm going to tell you that at WPI we have 3 different ways that you can apply. So we offer both early decision and early action. Early decision is the binding of the 2 early application processes that students can choose. So with early decision, you're going to apply in the fall on November 1st or January 15th, and we're going to let you know about 6 weeks after you apply where things stand with your application. Because early decision is binding, if you're accepted, then you've made the decision that you will enroll at WPI. The other option that we have is early action, and that is not binding. So that gives the student the opportunity to submit their application early if they're ready to go, either in November, on November 1st, or in January, on January 15th. If students are accepted under early action, they don't have to let us know whether or not they want to enroll until May 1st. And so that's where the non-binding piece comes into play. And then last but not least, we also offer regular decision. And regular decision has a deadline of February 15th. We're going to let students know about regular decision by April 1st. And then again, students that are accepted under regular decision don't have to let us know if they would like to enroll until May 1st. So there's a lot of flexibility here. We offer a variety of different deadlines. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to our office anytime. But again, as I've mentioned, these deadlines are all listed on our website with an explanation of what each one means. What are we looking for? So we definitely have a holistic review process at WPI. And I hope that as Lana and I have been sharing more about WPI and about the WPI plan with you, you've gotten a sense of our collaborative community. Hands-on learning is really important to us. And so I think that's really where our holistic review comes into play, because on the bottom of this slide, We're telling you a little bit about what we're looking for in terms of we're going to look for students that have strong courses with an emphasis on math and science. And so we do want students to have completed math through pre-calculus because they're going to take calculus in their first year. And then on this slide, we're also sharing information about average GPA. For students who come from a high school that ranks, we're sharing our average class rank. So those are all pieces of information that we can get by looking at your high school transcript. But we also want to learn a little bit more about who you are as a community member, who you are as a collaborator, because fit is really important at WPI. And so when I'm reviewing your application, I can't just look at your transcript and get a sense of if you enjoy working in teams, how creative and curious you are. Do you love math and science, but what else are you passionate about? That's where I really want to learn more about you by looking at your essay and looking at your letters of recommendation and the activities that you've listed on your Common App. And this is where, again, where that holistic review comes into place, where we're really looking at all aspects of a student's application to make sure that WPI would be a good fit for them. Okay, and then last but not least, I did want to take a moment and just talk briefly about scholarships and financial aid and how that works at WPI. At WPI, one of the big takeaways I would want you to leave with tonight is that we offer both need-based and merit aid. So we offer both. In terms of merit aid, we'll look at every student that is accepted to WPI. If we have everything we need at that time when we're offering the student admission, we can give them a sense of what their merit aid would look like. The same would be true for need-based aid. For need-based aid, we are going to ask for 2 additional forms. The first is the FAFSA form, which is the Federal Financial Aid Form, and the second is the CSS profile. And we have a separate office of student aid and financial literacy at WPI, and they will work with students and families to process need-based aid applications. And again, when a student applies, if we have everything that we need, if you applied early action, for example, on November 1st, we're letting you know in January about your admission decision. If we had everything we needed in terms of your need-based aid application, we'd be able to give you a sense of what that package would look like when we're offering you admission. So our hope is to really be able to let students know about merit and need-based aid as soon as possible once they've been accepted in the process. And you can see here by this slide, 97% of our students who are admitted to WPI are receiving some type of financial assistance, whether it's merit aid, need-based aid, or a combination of the 2. And if you have any questions about that, again, I really encourage you to reach out to us at any time. We're more than happy to answer questions regarding merit and need-based aid, as I know that this slide tonight really only just scratches the surface of questions or information you might be interested in that regard. Okay, so I'm mindful of the time, and I'm going to bring us back to this slide, or end with this slide, and just thank you for joining us and take a look at some of the questions that we have. I know I answered some along the way. One of the questions that I answered was about subject test scores. We do not review subject test scores when we're evaluating applications. One of the other questions that I received was about submitting self-reporting test scores. So if you do choose to submit your SAT or ACT, you may self-report those scores. We will use those in the application review process. If a student is accepted to WPI and they choose to enroll in WPI, at that time we will ask you to have an official score sent to us from one of the testing centers. One of the questions I see here is, would 3 letters of recommendation be too much? It's certainly not necessary to submit 3 letters of recommendation. We really want at least 1, but I know sometimes that can be hard to do. One of the questions I have is, are you still eligible for merit aid if you apply early decision? And the answer to that question would be yes. We will look at all students who are accepted to WPI for merit scholarships. And I know we have at least one FIRST robotics participant on this info session tonight. And so that's a great question that you're asking. The question is, will the FRC scholarship be changed? My team doesn't have access to my robot due to COVID. And we plan to be reviewing for FIRST scholarships this year, just like we have in previous years. And I think the point here is a good one, where I just want to be mindful of sharing with all of you that we certainly understand that this is an unusual year, and that the pandemic has really changed maybe how you finished up your junior year and how your senior year might be started. And we just want you to know that we understand that. We're going to work with your high schools. We're going to take the information that they share with us about how they've been handling the pandemic and your learning. And just know that we know that everyone has sort of had a unique experience, and we definitely understand that, and are going to hold students harmless for any decisions that their high school might have had to make in terms of how they graded and how they approached learning again during the pandemic. One of the questions I also see here is the average GPA on the website unweighted? That would be a weighted GPA that we're sharing with you. But I would preface that by saying, please take that with a grain of salt, because we know every high school does things a little bit differently. Okay, so it sounds like we're going to be wrapping up. I see Zach coming back to end this. And I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I apologize for my technical difficulties advancing the slides. I seem to have bad luck when I'm in a certain particular part of my house broadcasting, but thank you so much for joining us. Any questions we didn't get to, we will respond to you. And please check back in with our website. Please reach out to us. We definitely want to be a resource for you, and we wish you all the luck in your college search.
Thank you so much, Kate and Lana, for sharing this information about WPI. And students and counselors, thank you so much for joining us for today's session. As you close this window, a very quick 4-question survey will appear. So we do ask for your feedback and submitting that. And I encourage you to submit or to sign up for other sessions that are running through Thursday evening that are STEM focused at strivescan.com/virtual/STEM, and check out the recordings at the exact same website. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.